Hi everybody, how are you doing? It's Anna from Astralladytarot. Today I want to talk about The Wild Unknown Tarot by Kim Krans. Now as you can see, I have a first edition, and I think this video is a couple years too late, but I am currently reconnecting to this deck, falling in love all over again, working with it more than I ever did, and basically rediscovering the artwork, rediscovering the value that this quite modern deck holds. First of all, don't you just love this box? This is the world card in this deck. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And also I want to take a quick moment for these little things that I've gathered for this video. Do you like them? It's just very random, but something needed to be in the frame. And I went with a tiny prickly cactus, my little self-love candle because it's in this pink thingy, and then this weird egg that I bought in a thrift store because it has this continuous line, kind of like a wishing stone. So as you may know, I am currently culling my deck collection. I am getting rid of a lot of decks. This is just because I really feel the need and still of having this collection of essential tarot decks to me. Now, even something as iconic as the Wild Unknown Tarot, that, was pretty influential when it came out, and still is, I'm just looking through it and questioning if I need this deck. And yeah, the conclusion is, yes, I do need this deck. And I like this deck, even though it's quite different artwork than I usually enjoy. But I think there's also a reason why I am using this deck right now, and we'll get into that. So really this video is mostly a artwork appreciation video because we have all seen these cards. I love the backs of the first edition. I love the backs of the second edition as well. This is a trimmed version. Really more like scales, I'd say. Yeah, this is maybe a little bit more of a grounded thing because it just reminds me of the inside of a tree trunk, right, with all the lines. Now I think the reason why I'm connecting to this deck more than I did in the beginning when I got this one is just because I have expanded my tarot knowledge, my deck collection, because, let's put this one to the side for a sec, because I started with the Rider-Waite-Smith system and then afterwards got into Marseille, so numerology was always a thing that I really appreciated, but then, especially in 2020, I'd say, I really got into Thoth as well, and then the numerology also changed a little bit. It's still, basically I'm making my own tarot system, right, like many of us do, just to make sense of all the cards all the different depiction of the cards that we have. So, I think that's really interesting, but making this very personalized tarot practice, whether you do it consciously or not, I'm sure it's happening. Everyone is different and everyone reads the cards in a slightly different way. But I really appreciate, for instance, in the Thoth, that there are so many layers in there. You can put the numerology of the traditional tarot, like the Tarot de Marseille, for instance. But then what the Thoth deck is all about is, of course, the Kabbalistic tree of life. So then we have the Sephirah and the numerology in there, and, it's just extra information that I can use to read these pip cards. Now, I'm not saying that this is a Thoth-based deck. I actually don't think so. I think it's closer to Rider-Waite-Smith in a way, but it's also very much its own thing, which I appreciate because I'm culling my deck collection, but I'm also shopping around at the same time. I'm sure many people can relate to that. But I'm kind of at the same time, maybe not disappointed, that's not the right word. I'm kind of at the same time, well, surprised. Let's just start there. Surprised that most of the decks that I keep are Rider-Waite-Smith based, which was not my intention at all. I really love these types of pips, or I really love pips. Let's just say what it is. So the reason why I like this deck in the pips especially is because it's a little bit more, we have a little bit more to go on, I'd say. I think, right? Maybe a little bit more to go on in a modern way than a traditional Marseille, because we have, you could say these are pips, although it's just, you know, a drawing of 6 wands, of course, of 6 branches, but then we have this butterfly that flies off, so that is giving us information. And there are many really informative videos about the wild unknown, you know, people getting into the exact, and I will link it below if I find it, people getting into all these details, like for instance why these lines in the Queen of Swords, in the Mother of Swords, are horizontal instead of here with the Son of Wands. It's like a burst. Now, this is one of the cards that was changed in the second and third edition of the deck, when the deck went mass market, and this is one of the reasons why I hold on to my first edition, because I really love this, the strangeness of this card, for instance, and also other cards that were changed. Let's just quickly look them up. Just a little ASMR, by the way, because this deck is so good. Just hear this shuffle. The Wild Unknown, in particular, is known for its ASMR shuffleness. It's so good because it's thick, but quite bendy, and it's matte but smooth at the same time. You know, it's all really good. So I think I got some of the cards, or all of the cards, not sure, that were changed in the second and third edition. I love this Hierophant. I think it was changed to, I'm not going to find them all in my second edition deck. So I really love this because it's more, I don't know, it's in a sense stranger. Of course, this is a raven, so you have all seen my Crow's Magic Tarot deck, I'm sure, and the relationship I have with that deck. Yeah, this is just very strong to me, that the lines are vertical instead of this type of shadow burst thing that's going on. This, I feel, is more clear. It's more about the raven, and then there's a background. You know what I mean? I love this mood better. Then in this card, it was also changed in the second edition with more color and just a different drawing, really. I like this one especially because it's like a trick of the eye. This, the only upright cup right here. What does it look like to you? Does it look like it's on top of this cone shape, like a mountain, like a peak? Or does it look like you have to go through this kind of hollow half tunnel in order to get to the cup? So there's that difference right there. The Temperance card in the mass market is also different. I think it has more color. Now I really love this because it has this blue and red fire, which is all about, it's very alchemical, it's all about mixing. I like this because it's simply more simple. There's only the blue instead of the whole rainbow. I think in this deck, you know, when there's color, it's often a full spectrum of the rainbow, which in itself, of course, has symbolism. But I really prefer this depiction because it's more simple, more, I don't know, it's just a matter of taste, I'm sure. It's just that I prefer this. Yeah, I think that's it. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. And then also, here it is. Oh yeah, this is also one of the cards that was changed. also with a little bit more black and white, but I really like these simple lines. Yeah, it looks like a stairway. I love this card. So yeah, it just goes to show I really love pips. And I do think that there's a lot to go off of. Now, you may know that my favorite Marseille is the Triomphe de la Luna, especially the Paradoxical Edition, or actually rather exclusively the Paradoxical Edition, because that's the only Triomphe de la Luna that I have by Patrick Valenza. Now, that is a very decorated, maximalist Marseille, you could say. So it's not, I don't feel that I have any decks really that are super minimalist, that there's really not a lot going on in the cards. I think in the Marseille, which to me is still the most neutral or stripped from scenes tarot deck that you can have, even in that style, I have a deck that has a lot of details and a lot of, yeah, it's just very evocative still. So now I'm wondering if you have this deck as well, and if, like me, you are currently rediscovering it and falling in love with it again, and which edition you prefer. There are minor differences, but yeah, they do make a difference. Might as well have the perfect one, right? I'm going to show you some of my favorite cards in the deck, some of my other favorite cards in the deck. I really love this Ten of Wands. This is just, there's not so much, but at the same time it's a lot. Like you can see right here in the middle, the darkness is fading away a little bit. It's more light in the heart, in the center of the card. And it's kind of like this filter between you and the place you want to be, to get over something, conclusion, to get out of this type of burden card. And it's just these branches that are in the way. Yeah, really like that. The simplicity of it. Here, in this Eight of Cups, I love how, maybe it doesn't translate on camera, but I love how huge and ominous this dark mountain in the shadow appears to be. It's really like this huge task that awaits the reader, I'd say, the querent. I really like the effect that this card has on me. I read with this deck for myself. And then here, I can't believe I didn't realize how cute this Daughter of Swords is. Look at this cute face. She's so beautiful. I can't believe I never noticed before. It's like I want to pet her. Yeah. This is what I did with this cutie in actually the first video I ever uploaded on YouTube. This is the second edition Wild Unknown that I unfortunately had to trim, and I trimmed it really badly because, as you can tell, it's not straight lines, and I didn't have a guillotine cutter at the time, so it was all scissors and I made a mess out of it. But I had to trim it because the cards were all wonky and there was just no way that I could return these cards. So I decided to make a project out of it. Now, the whole idea of getting that second edition was to indeed color it, and as you can tell in the video as well, I was especially inspired by the garish colors, but I love them, of the Albano weight. So, especially in the quartz. But you know, at the time it did really help to connect to this deck, because I know the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery so well, and although I don't own an Albano weight anymore, it just links me to the images in the Rider-Waite-Smith and the Albano-Waite. You kind of see what I did there, even though I'm not in love with this deck at all, although that's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know, I'll just turn it into some sort of crafting project. But just to explain, this is the Daughter of Swords, and the whole Swords family, the whole Swords courts are, I think they all have this light blue background in the Albano-Waite, and then they are all the swords are yellow, because that ties into the element of air, which the swords are in the Rider-Waite-Smith system. To me at the time, this was still immediately clear that this was a swords family, right? Just because of the colors. And I'm glad I did it at the time. It was really fun to do. But just to show you what I did, you can tell in the coloration they are together. Okay, let's go over the cards in the Wild Unknown that I do not particularly love. There are a few, and I will just simply show them and tell you why. Now, the Strength card. This seductive lion with its beautiful mane, and then with the rose in its mouth, and then with the lemniscate right here. Looking at this card now and having worked with the deck for a little bit, I got over it. I got over the fact that this was a pretty, maybe not really anthropomorphized, but, you know, not a lion as you would see it in the wild for sure, which in this deck, you know, compared to these cards, was a little bit hard to work with, but I have actually just accepted it and even fallen in love with this beauty, because look, it's drawn beautifully, and it's also just this funny but at the same time genius and iconic thing of this deck, iconic card of this deck. So I often think when I see this Strength card in the Wild Unknown, iconic. It's absolutely iconic. So yeah, I kind of love it now. Another card why I'm not so sure why I'm not in love with it, this Son of Pentacles. Maybe it's just the way that this deer has been drawn. I like the fact that it's a younger deer. Not sure why the moon is there, but yeah, I can work with it. Again, it's just the way I've been reading this card is focus more on the path, even though, you know, it might be a heavy burden, might be a weight on the shoulders, but something about this card. This is just me being silly about butterflies. I can work with the symbolism of the butterfly, but I'm not really a fan of butterfly drawings, just because it reminds me, that might be a little bit of a shadow by the way, just because it reminds me so much of these typical girly things, typical girly decoration, typical girly stuff that just had too many frills and too many silly things, too many, well, you know where I'm getting at. The last card, which I think of everything that I've explained about the previous cards, you will know why I'm not super in love with this Chariot card. I would have loved seeing just the horse. With this, that's fine, but no moon and no pentacle. No pentacle necklace on the horse, please. And then still it looks like, you know, with the mane in the wind, but you can imagine it galloping away or galloping towards you. So there's definitely something there, and I can work with all of these cards. But yeah, I just thought it would be funny to also include the cards that I have a little bit more trouble working with or liking. Although, you know, this one is definitely, yeah, iconic is such a compliment, isn't it? Oh, cute. Now, another reason why I think, by the way, I connect to this deck a little bit better than I did a few years ago is because we have daughter, son, mother, and father. And I was so used to the Rider-Waite-Smith court cards, page, knight, queen, and king. Whereas now with the Thoth, I think it actually connects better to daughter, mother, etc. So I just have more information there, I think, more associations. That's kind of a relief, and isn't it cool to revisit decks that we haven't used for a while and see how we read them now. I think that's really cool. I want to share this other thing with you, the Four of Pentacles. The reason I want to share this little anecdote with you, a little story, is just to put out there the importance of the knowledge, the importance of the things we have learned about tarot, what four means, in different numerological systems. That's fine. What pentacles means, if you associate them with the element of earth, and maybe you connect it to the emperor or temperance. All of that is valuable information that today I am reminding myself, or actually a few days ago, while journaling on this card in a reading with other cards as well. It was just a reading for myself. I read with this deck for myself exclusively, at least at the moment. A reminder to myself to rely on what I know first. This, to me, in my practice, is so valuable. It's just the reason I needed to remind myself of this is because I kind of went feeling super excited about working with this deck again, falling in love with the imagery again. I think this is really cool. Kind of like the Rosy Cross, no? On the back of the Thoth, by the way, I just realized. But I was so happy about working with this deck again and seeing this beautiful Four of Pence that I got a little bit carried away with these colors, these lines, and what in the moment, intuitively, these lines and colors meant to me. And then I made this silly mistake of forgetting to read the actual information in the typical tarot Four of Pentacles, Four of Coins, Four of Discs. Isn't that silly? And I know that this would not have happened had I been reading for a client, but reading for myself, I allow the intuition to come a little bit more, to be a little bit more free with it. And then at the end of the day or the day after, I realized, wow, if only I had read this card the way that I know what it means, because then I would have actually given myself good advice. Because I was kind of going like, okay, sharing, and we are different, we are all individuals, and we are sharing. So fine, that can be a part of the card. But what about keeping the energy within yourself? Because I completely disregarded my boundaries that day, my physical boundaries that day. I just came home from work exhausted, and I really didn't need to be. This card came up to tell me that I needed to take care of myself. All of these lines, I kind of feel they are not necessarily going out, they are coming in. And that is, of course, the structure, the root, the strong basis of the energy that I needed when I pulled this beautiful card. Let's see what the guidebook says, because I have the guidebook from, of course, the second edition. The Four of Pentacles first suggests material gain and stability. Now, sure, this is the material world, and sure, originally the pentacles and discs were coins, but I don't, as you may know, read the pentacle suits merely as wealth or work or money. I think that's a little bit flat, and there's much more in the pentacle suit and the earth element. But let's keep reading, because it's not, they're not saying money, it's just material gain, which means, of course, gain in the material world. So that could be pretty much anything still. But then they continue, only good news for your bank account and home. Yet, underneath the surface, this is a card of warning. Do not become possessive or controlling. holding on too tightly to the material world will leave you rigid, stagnant, and displeasing to others. Wealth is a concept. And up here it says possession and control. Now this, of course, very much relates back to the Four of Pentacles in the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is often titled or named or called the Miser card. Now, I don't see the Four of Pentacles only as a miser energy, but, you know, it's in there. Seeing this miser energy as a positive point to focus on, though, is very much about, well, what I experienced a few days ago. So that's a funny little story about, I'd say, learning my own lesson. Last little thing. I think a major reason why I am connecting to this deck at this moment is because looking at the artwork, it pairs beautifully to the Living Altar Oracle. Let's just put them side by side and I will show you what I'm talking about. It's definitely a little bit more raw. It's definitely a little bit punk rock. Oh my gosh, look at these colors. I didn't plan this at all. You've seen me shuffle the deck multiple times. Wow. So if you have both of these decks, don't you agree? Just look at that. Okay, I could really just go through the entire deck like this. Just appreciate beautiful, raw artwork. Super evocative. It's like this is one of the cut down trees, but it has the fire inside that we see here. This is crazy. It pairs so well. Because it's both very much nature-based and also has this, obviously, I don't want to say similar art style, but I mean, I think you can tell. Look at the colors. And then there are eggs in there in the nest. It's like we're looking at a nest that's in this empress tree. Okay, I think that's enough. Let me quickly just show you to end this strange video, but I just felt like sharing this with you. Quickly just show you some of my Wild Unknown colored in cards. Again, I don't know what to do with this deck. I don't think I want to keep it. So if you want this deck, here are the cards that I had difficulty with. See, I really tried to make it Rider-Waite-Smith. Kind of like these colors actually, but I think I definitely need to let go of this deck or find another purpose for this silly art project of mine. Back in the day, ASMR over here. First edition definitely shuffles better than the other one. Ah, beautiful Ace of Cups. Alright, that's pretty. You know, I feel that when I pull one card of a deck on video, I often get the Ace of Cups. So, you know, this is obviously about emotion and feeling and intuition and really love. Just, I'm saying, spreading love and shining that light and sharing that light with other people. And also, let's not forget to also feel it from others, getting it back, because this is a two-way street. This is really a stream that is between you and others, between you and the world, or rather, we are all the same stream. That was really quick, but I think it's enough for this video. Thank you all so much for being here. Please let me know what you think. If you love the Wild Unknown, if you maybe had this deck, got rid of this deck, or if you have this deck and like me didn't touch it for a long time and now are connecting to it again. I mean, just look at this devil. At first I was like, why would you draw a devil like this? But now working with Thoth, there is a goat in there, and a pretty similar looking goat, I'd say. It's evil, but it's not. Just like me, evil but not. Alright, so thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.